first time I worked in the summertime, and it gets, you know, it stayed light very late in those latitudes. And it was about, I guess about 9 o'clock in the evening. And I said, haven't we been at this for some time? And they said, haven't you been informed that this is an extended day?
An extended day?
I said, extended day? And it just goes on. You work from 7 o'clock in the morning until you can't see. That's it.
You did it.
Well, people ask me why, how come they did it in England? I said, you know, they did it in England. Why they did Philip Marlowe in England? I said, it's probably the last English-speaking stronghold of industrial slavery.
So, extended day.
Extended day.
That wasn't in the contract. It didn't say anything about extended day.
It will be in the next one, I think.
Hey, thanks for coming. I know you don't go out. I hope that the movie The Big Sleep is a big hit for you. And sometime when you're up here out of your Montecito, you want to come over and sit around and talk a while?
Very good.
We'd be delighted to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob, for coming.
Thank you.
An extended day.
He's a nice man. They don't make him that honest much anymore, do they?
No, not
He
really.
just says it as it is.
I wanted to tell him that when he had his little mishap many years ago, I was on the road with a band and we took his picture and put it up in the front of the bus. But there he is, Bob. Oh, boy.
Seems so silly with today's standards. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. I'm sure very well. Dick Van Patten is such a fine actor and was in a show that is a very hot show on television called 8 is Enough, which is on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. And after being an actor for some 40 years, the power of television has now made him a household word.
Is that explosion?
That explosion affected my my mouth. Would you welcome Dick Van Patten? Welcome back.
Oh, thanks. That was really gutsy what you did there.
I don't know.
I'm very impressed.
There's a thin line between guts and stupidity sometimes,
No,
and I'm
that
not
was
sure
true.
where it.
You're like Dick Van Dyke. He's very physical. He'll
Dick
do all those.
Dick
You and
likes to
Dick
try
remind
those
me of-
things.
Yeah,
I want
he
to
would
at
do
least
that
try
too.
it once.
Mhm.
And you assume when you're working with people of that caliber who are professionals,
Yeah.
you know, you have to trust them and say, hey, they're not going to, I don't think, let you get involved in something that really is to the point where you could hurt yourself.
No, they've helped me a great deal. And my son Vincent was saved by Hal Needham in a Disney picture, horse
Is that
rider.
right?
Vincent's a terrific horseback rider. But he was about 12 years old and a horse ran loose with him, and Hal Needham jumped in there and really saved him.
He's one of the best in the business.
Yeah, all those fellows have been great. I owe a lot to them. They
Speaking
make
of-
us look good.
Speaking of your son, the last time we played together was 4 or 5 years ago. And now, I hear he's going to join the professional ranks.
Yeah, he's come a long way, John.
Oh.
He's really doing very
What
well.
is he, 20 now?
He's 20 years old. He's out of the juniors. He's ranked number 2 in California. He's had some big wins. 3 weeks ago in Palm Springs in the James Franciscus tournament for the retarded of the desert. It's a charity tournament, and Ray Moore, who's ranked, I think, 28th in the world, had just beaten Bjorn Borg and Roscoe Tanner, and he agreed to play Vincent in an exhibition match in front of about 5,000 people in Palm Springs, which was very nice of Ray Moore to do.
Yeah.
And it was the best tennis. It was a 10-game pro set, and Vincent wound up winning in a tiebreaker. And it was really, that was the best he ever played, but it was a big thrill
that's
for
got to
him.
inflate you. Because I remember when we played, I think it was the first, I had just taken the game up, and they said, your partner is Mr. Van Patten. I said, I'm like, what? I said, oh, the young man. I said, yeah, I've seen him. And I went out, and when I saw him play, I said, we got a lock on this guy. I said, this kid is a ringer. And I was so lousy at that time
No, you
that
weren't.
he couldn't have won it.
No, he said just the opposite. He froze up because he was in such awe of you, watching you on TV ever since he was a kid, and then playing with you. He did freeze up with you.
That was
But he said you were terrific, that you were very steady and you didn't get in his way and everything. You always got that.
Well, that's important, I want to tell you.
No, but
When
sometimes...
you're playing with somebody of that caliber, there's a lot of yours yelling. That's when the ball comes over. Yours! And if you can manage to get out of the way of the better player and not interrupt his game, you can win pretty regularly.
Yeah.
Is he going to go? Is that what he'd really like to do?
Yeah,
now?
he's playing professional now,
And the competition is so tough nowadays.
yeah, it really is. Like when he goes on an audition for a part, it's so much easier than, when he plays in a tournament. It's
Right.
it gives him a relaxed feeling.
But did he always have his eyes on that? Or did he find out when his game started to really become you know, an A+ game, that, hey, this is the direction.
Yeah, no,
to
I
go.
don't think he had his eyes on it, but he was going. We moved out from New York in 1970, and in New York there aren't those children's tournaments and everything
Right.
the way they're so prevalent out here. So I started to put my kids in all these tournaments, you know, because it was like I love games, and this like watching my kids play games and everything, and it was fun. And then all of a sudden, Nels and Vincent, two of my sons, really started to win these tournaments, you know. And then Vincent got really excited about it, and then that's got him interested. Yeah.
I think that's great when you can find something you really enjoy doing and you can go out and make a living at it.
Yeah.
When you were a kid, you were already acting. When you were young,
Right.
your direction was set.
I started when I was 7, and I was in a lot of Broadway plays. There's like a story with each play. Some very disillusioning things happen, and some exciting things and fun things.
Did it ever occur to you to say, this is not for me, when things were going badly?
No, I didn't know anything else. You know, that's all I knew. There was no television then. There was just acting, and my mother and father put me in the theater, and I went from one show to another. And there were exciting things that happened. I was in one show, The Eternal Road, was directed by Max Reinhardt. There were 300 people in the cast. They tore out the whole orchestra of the Manhattan Opera House. It was on 34th Street.
Right.
And Norman Belgetti's designed the set. He built a whole mountain. And Max, and I remember, and this was in
How old were
Equity.
you then?
I was 7 years old then, and I played Isaac in the play. And Equity, in those days, the laws weren't as you know, strong as they are now. And the night before we opened, I got to the theater at 11 o'clock in the morning, and we rehearsed. I'm not exaggerating. Here I was a little boy, 7 years old, and I was in that theater till 7 o'clock the next night when we opened. They never sent that cast of 300 home to go to sleep. They just were up for 24 hours and then opened the show that night.
Things have changed.
I was in another play On Borrowed Time, which got the Pulitzer Prize in 1938, about an old man and a little boy, you know.
Right.
And Mr. Brink comes, who's supposed to be dead. This is funny because